Okay, and we're back. Quite an intense first 2 hours. We're going to move into hour number 3 now with Yoichi Shimatsu, who is coming to us from beautiful Thailand this week, and he's standing by down there. Let's find out how our connection is. Can you hear me, my friend?
Yeah, I can hear you. Not
good.
well, but okay.
Oh, you sound great.
Good.
Yeah, fine. All right. Here's the latest for all of you who have not had a chance to follow what's going on at Fukushima, which of course is, we'll call it denoticed over here, as they say in the UK. It's not to be talked about by the mainstream controlled Zionist media. But here are the latest headlines for you, just to bring you up to speed a little bit. Molten corium apparently seen melting out of one of the busted, wrecked Fukushima reactors, coming right out of the bottom of it. A new videotape. Take a look at that. Strontium-90 levels soar again at Fukushima. This situation is in such flux over there, it's not funny. Fukushima radiation continues to pour into the Pacific. If you remember, and I believe we mentioned this last week, the IAEA went and inspected what's left of the Fukushima Daiichi power station and told the TEPCO officials that they saw nothing wrong at all with dumping all, not part of, all of the radioactive water into the ocean. All right, here's another one. New nuclear leak at destroyed Fukushima plant. So they continue to find things as the plant continues to literally disintegrate. Things are falling apart. They are literally decaying day by day, hour by hour. Japan has no sane nuclear waste disposal plan. Well, surprise, neither do we. Neither does anybody else. Tritium also spiking at Fukushima in their groundwater measuring locations. There's much more there. It's at the center column at the top of headlines, and you can go to the right side and see the whole archive going back almost 4 years now. We're coming up in March on the 4-year anniversary of the greatest tragedy in recorded human history. All right, what's new with you?
Yeah, well, with steam coming out of the ground, we've been predicting that these things would happen. The ground is becoming more smoke-like. There's a lot more vents there. You know, the corium's burning through hot steam, and hot water is obviously bubbling up.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of snow melt right now. So those huge snowstorms, a lot of snow melt coming down through the underground streams into the plant, forcing water pressure upward, and that's pushing a lot of that steam that's around the corium is pushing it up to the surface. Highly pressurized steam. Very, very dangerous for the workers, by the way, there, because it's going to get over everything. It's going to get into your breathing space. It'll penetrate everything there. Quite cold there still in Japan, so the steam will have a effect of condensing also all over the place. Okay, it won't be too much release in the atmosphere, but it'll condense all over, so it's going to be deadly for the workers. The other problem is the spike in strontium, as you mentioned, in the groundwater. That's risen by 70 times. 70. That's not 17. We're talking about 70. 70 times above the previous level. Massive spike in strontium, which can only be explained by one thing, and that is the release of untreated water from Fukushima, which basically was more or less approved by the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency inspection. They sent 15 staff members there to Fukushima last week, led by the director of their waste disposal and fuel cycle division, Spaniard named Juan Carlos Lentino. And if I could just quote him from an IAEA press release, he said, well, first he said Japan needs to come up with a more sustainable solution for all the wastewater that's gathered on site. He noted that there's a lot of space there at Fukushima, number one, but it's running out. You have space. And then this is what he did. He advised that TEPCO should consider discharging treated water into the ocean. In other words, more treated water into the ocean. knowing full well he was there. He's seen the Areva equipment, the big French company. Their system broke down. The Toshiba system broke down. The current one from Kurion is basically in test phase. No one's talking about that. I'm sure that's not working very well, despite all the major promises out of those people from Hanford. Mm-hmm. They certainly cannot clean the water running into the Columbia River. I don't know how they plan to, cleanse the water of radionuclides out of Fukushima. So, knowing full well that the treatment systems to remove radioactive substances, isotopes, from wastewater have failed, he's still urging the discharge of water. And if anyone who lives along the Pacific Coast, anyone who cares about marine life, all the people who bought into that whole Greenpeace program to save the seals, the whole Discovery Channel program of Mr. Watson there, of stopping the Japanese whalers to save the whales, sail the seas. Mm-hmm. This man is saying, this is a direct quote of the IAE, the United Nations agency in charge of atomic power. This guy's a nuclear engineer. Mm-hmm. He deals with wastewater systems all around the world, and nuclear plants all around the world. He said, controlled discharge. That's a real amazing term, huh? Controlled discharge. No, we're dumping water into the ocean. That's a controlled discharge. Was something that is happening every day worldwide in most nuclear plants. Yeah. And he adds, this release of water from nuclear plants in the ocean has negligible impact on the environment.
Unbelievable.
We need a nuclear engineer with 20 plus years of experience to tell us it's okay to dump water out of nuclear plants in the ocean, like that was done at San Onofre that killed off the sea lion population there, that's killing off the sea life there, that's using the fish that, fishermen, commercial fishermen, and sports fishermen gather. Yeah. This man is talking, these are fantasies that are basically fundamental lies in the interest of the nuclear industry, and nothing but lies.
Nothing.
He is just incompetent. He's absolutely corrupt and possibly incompetent on top of that, and should be fired and replaced. The head of the United Nations should fire these people who say these things, because these are just bald, outright lies. It's a disgrace to, any shred of honor left at that corrupt body called the United Nations. This guy has to be gotten rid of.
The whole United Nations needs to be gotten rid of, Yoshi. It's all rotted to the core.
It is doing no good at all.
None. Whenever you hear go ahead.
Yeah, huh?
Whenever you hear these clowns.
Is it any wonder?
Yeah.
Is it any wonder that a professional fraudster, the Spaniard Lentijo, could be promoted in 2012, a couple of years ago, by the director general of the IAEA, Yukiya Amano, okay? He was appointed director of the IAEA, the top man there. This is a watchdog for the nuclear industry. They're supposed to protect the world public from nuclear disasters. Yukiya Amano, former Japanese diplomat, he's still registered with the Japanese Foreign Ministry, okay? Joined the Foreign Ministry 1972 and directly went, when he joined from Tokyo University, into the science division and into the nuclear division of the Japanese Foreign Ministry. This is 1972, okay? And I read you an internal document, okay, a secret internal document that was exposed by Mainichi Shimbun, okay, from 1969, 3 years before Mr. Amano, the current head of the IAEA, joined joined the Foreign Ministry, a freshman at the Foreign Ministry, with this new policy come in. I'll read you, quote, this is from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, okay, internal memo, top level, okay, quote, for the time being, okay, and we're talking about this is 30 years ago.
Got it.
We will maintain the policy of not possessing nuclear weapons. That's the official policy. While keeping the economic and technical potential for production of nuclear weapons, while seeing to it that Japan will not be interfered with. Unquote. That is, in other words,
wow.
The foreign ministry is in charge of making sure no one in the world dares interfere with Japan's nuclear program, nuclear weapons program. Okay,
that's a stunning document.
Through threats, through removing people, through 100 different devices. No one in officialdom at the United Nations, in the United States, and the G7 dares probe into what Japan is doing at Fukushima and why reactor 3 blew up with weapons-grade plutonium. See, this is the statement more than 30 years ago, and the head of the IAEA was hired 3 years after that memo was written.
That was over 40 years ago. 40
years ago, yeah. 40 years ago, 1969.
Whenever you hear these,
career has been there, spent covering up Japan's nuclear weapons program, and he's the big boss at the place that is supposed to be enforcing non-nuclear countries to abide by the non-proliferation treaty. The wolf is inside the hen house for sure, and this is why this is the third visit by the IAEA to Fukushima, and the third absolute whitewash, turning night into day there, and with absolute lies. The whole lot of them have to be fired. This agency is absolutely corrupt. It has to be bulldozed. All the people there should be put before international war crimes trials for crimes against humanity and against the environment.
Yeah.
And an entirely new non-proliferation structure needs to be created from the ground up with completely new people.
I wish I could say there was a chance that's going to happen. Whenever you hear these clowns use the word sustainability or sustainable, you know who they're working for. You know where their hearts and minds lie. They're career criminals.
Well, it will happen. It will happen. It's going to happen too late, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it will happen after all life forms. When people started dying as fast as marine mammals, when people across Asia, across the Pacific, when people in North America and Canada and the USA start dropping like the sea lions are dropping, that's when change will happen. But it's going to be awful.
It's going to take that. You're
by
right.
that time, the criminals will be hiding out somewhere. They'll be gone. They'll be hiding out, leaving the mess to the next generation.
They'll be in their rabbit holes.
Who don't have the budget or the tools to deal with it.
Totally correct. You're totally correct. It'll take something like that before there is any action at all. I couldn't agree more.
And, the stuff that Dana's seen of mass extinction, so as you say, this is the greatest tragedy. This is the biggest extinction event in human history, the biggest human-caused extinction event. Yeah. This is the biggest human-caused climate change event. Okay, never mind this other stuff. Also, this stuff has altered the weather. People in the eastern states of the United States haven't noticed some major changes in the jet stream.
They've noticed.
The jet stream.
Yeah.
Radiation, powerful force that never should have been taken out of burial in that deep rock where it belongs. It was only when that radiation was covered by sediment did life begin to emerge on this planet. And the idiots who dug it up are now killing all those millions of years of evolution it took for life to develop into these, thousands of species that Dana has been seeing off the coast of Vancouver, off the coast of Canada and Alaska.
Well, the 6,000
millions of years for that development.
The 6,500 species or so that he hasn't been seeing off the coast of British Columbia, they're gone. And we don't know how much is left, if anything, much at all in the Pacific Ocean.
Hundreds of millions of years for those to evolve, to develop, to find their niches. And 4 years to wipe them out.
That's
these are criminals. These are the worst criminals ever seen in human history. We've seen Genghis Khan and all that.
No, they're monsters.
Compared to with the nuclear.
These people they're monsters, Yoshi. They're monstrosities. They're not human. Yeah. They're sociopaths. They're crazy. I run out of words. Let me see if Dana Durnford is online with us tonight. Are you there, Dana, by any chance?
Yes, Jeff, thank you. I was just listening, it's so shocking, and people can't wrap their minds around it when you talk to them. They really, truly can't understand what's going on. They give up right away. They say, oh, well, what are you going to do?
Die.
Like,
the answer to that is die. That's what you're going to do.
I tell people it's not like a heart attack in your sleep and you just die, you never wake up. This is, you liquidate your assets and you go kicking and screaming the whole way through.
Yeah.
And, this is an extinction event. There's no doubt about it. The last 3 days I got to the outside of some major islands, big hits, 4,000 pictures, and today I had to take the boat out of the water when I got back toward the transducer off, the sounder off. This was a little tricky getting back through the group of islands today, but I can't find anything out there. It's so boring. It's sickening how boring. It's so quiet, so still, and there's just nothing to take a picture of.
No birds, no fish, no nothing.
No nothing. I can't see anything out there. I mean, it's truly shocking to see it completely gone. And so the North Coast got hit a lot harder, even though the south part of Canada, West Coast, is pretty naked, 26 species in any given area if you were lucky. But this is naked up here. It's really something else. And I've seen one eagle, and you're just sitting there on all these rocks, and there's all these islands all around them. They're all naked, every one of them. And so it makes you wonder, how could he even survive, just a single eagle all by himself? It's so shocking that the world, I think, might change the game, You can't hide it much longer.
No, you can't. But, when you own the media, Dana, you just don't talk about it. And when you don't talk about it, it doesn't exist in the minds of the sheep. They just don't know any better. And even those that do can't, as you said, literally begin to wrap their minds around the dynamic of this catastrophe. It's beyond a catastrophe. It's that bad. And only until, as Yoshi said, people start dying in the streets, and they will in time, they'll just fall over, not in one day, but they'll fall over of an accumulative radioactive death. They're going to have cancer. There'll be all kinds of diseases. Maybe then somebody will say, well, gee, where's the EPA? Why haven't we had reports from the Canadian government about this? And then it'll get swept away again. No, we're just having global warming, ocean acidification, some new virus in the ocean water is causing the sea life to die off. I saw, where did I see, Yoshi? I sent you the story today. They're blaming it on, what was it? I can't remember. Acidification or something.
Natural Defense, Natural Resource Defense Council.
Yes.
NRDC, very famous NGO, more than 1 million members. I think it was created by that fellow Lester Brown. It's run by a Harvard professor from Columbia Law School, named Lerner, okay? He's basically in that faculty there with Alan Dershowitz. This is the Zionist law school in the world, okay? There's not a more Zionist law school in Israel than there is at Columbia, okay? And he's out of there, and he's talking about, acidification of the ocean caused by the burning of fossil fuel, carbon dioxide, and all. Well, if that's the case, I study chemistry. Show me the red tide, okay? Where is all the algae buildup? We don't see algae. Water's getting cleaner, yeah? Okay, if there is this acidification, the sea should be a giant muck, a huge, sewer of algae.
It should be.
It's clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Bacteria, everything else. They love acid environments.
Your grass grow taller, okay? Acid, plants, animals, they love acid. They love it. They don't like the alkali. You go to the desert, it's alkali salts out there. Yeah. They don't like it. Nuclear isotopes, alkali. That's why life forms hate the alkali. They thrive on the acidity. It's no problem there. So acidification of the ocean is the most absurd baloney, not coming from scientists, but lawyer from Columbia Law School, Alan Dershowitz's school, and everyone knows what Alan Dershowitz is. You know, he's a man who wrote In Defense of Zionism. You know, oh, the Palestinians are killing us, Israel. We have to fight back because we're facing all these evil terrorists coming through every window and door. So, you know, don't blame us if we have to send F-16s out there and drop bombs on apartment blocks. Okay?
Well, don't,
man
yes.
who thinks like this, Lerner is part of that faculty, doesn't say a peep, you know, and he's coming out with this stuff. Why? What is the connection between Zionism and the nuclear bomb? Was not the nuclear bomb and the creation of the nuclear bomb connected with the creation of the state of Israel? Was it not? Did not those two things happen at precisely the same time? Okay? So you understand why the folks at Columbia Law are so eager to take the light off of Fukushima, off of nuclear, off what's happening in the Ukraine, off of what's happening at the continued leakage of San and overhead, off of Hanford, because they've got a huge stake in atomic weapons. Just as we saw at Fukushima on the very day of March 11, 2011, an Israeli team, security team from the Dimona nuclear plant. This is the Israeli bomb factory with that Fukushima #1 setting up security systems, all right?
Correct.
They have a stake in this, folks.
Yeah.
And we got to wake up to the fact of what this nuclear bomb is all about, okay?
Very,
it's about
very,
domination.
very grim
Ideological,
stuff. All true.
political, economic, financial domination. It is global terrorism, and there's no other way to talk about nuclear weapons than as global terrorism. Terrorize everyone on this planet.
Indeed. All right, we have to take a break. We'll come right back. Please remember what Yoshi just said about acid and the lie about acidification in the oceans caused by global warming and viruses in the ocean, killing off life forms. It's all a gigantic lie. All of it. Black is white, up is down, and it's all a con job. We'll be right back. Okay, let's get right back to business. Dana Durnford is standing by, our special guest up in the wilds of British Columbia, off the coast, somewhere out there amongst those islands or near the shoreline, looking and looking in vain for signs of life as it used to be. It's gone up there now. One eagle. Nothing along the shores. Tide pools devoid of life. You heard Yoshi mention this piece of garbage I sent him today. It's called, I've got to read a little bit of this. Folks, really, please listen carefully. This is very important. It's entitled, New Study, Rapid Ocean Acidification Threatens Coastal Economies in 15 States. Anticipated impacts more widespread than previously believed. Major threats seen to oyster, scallop, clam industries in California, Connecticut, Florida, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Maine, Maryland, North Carolina, Oregon, Washington, etc., etc. Now, this is very clever the way they do this, although very simple to see through if you just understand what's really happening. The first nationwide vulnerability assessment for ocean acidification, published today in Nature Climate Change, shows that coastal communities in 15 states that depends on the nation's approximately $1 billion worth of shelled mollusks are at long-term economic risk. Okay, now, get this quote. Ocean acidification has already cost the oyster industry in the Pacific Northwest nearly $110 million and jeopardized about 3,200 jobs, said Julia Ekstrom, who was lead author of the research while a scientist with the Natural Resources Defense Council, the NRDC, and now is at the University of California, Davis. She said also, our research shows for the first time that many communities around the U.S. face similar risks. Here's the kicker. The report reads, ocean acidification is the result of oceans absorbing the growing amounts of carbon dioxide produced by burning fossil fuels. Acidifying waters make it more difficult for creatures with calcium carbonate shells or skeletons, including mollusks, crabs, and corals, to grow their shells and survive. The research study, co-authored by scientists at the NRDC, UC Davis, the Ocean Conservancy, and Duke University, and collaborators from 9 additional institutions, integrated physical, economic, and social data into an assessment of various regions' overall vulnerability. I'm going to stop there. This is such crap. It's beyond my ability to explain it to you. I could spend 2 hours talking about this stuff. Let me simplify it. When we talk about your health on this program for years and years, we talk about the human body not doing well when your blood is in an acid condition. Everything loves to grow in an acidic condition. We tell you to become alkaline. And when people simply change their blood chemistry and go alkaline, in many cases, catastrophic illnesses and diseases go away. It's that simple. So as Yoshi said, if the oceans really were suffering from gross acidification, they'd be crawling with life. There's nothing out there, folks. Very little left. Anything to add to that, Yoshi?
Jeff, you're absolutely correct. I mean, when I talked about the kill off of all the mollusks, all the shellfish in Tokyo Bay, their shells were fine. There's nothing wrong with the shells. They died from inside. You know, it's their flesh that's dying, not the shells.
Yep.
And you know, I live upstream from, my house, my radioactive house. It is, whatever left of it, upriver from there, in the middle of massive limestone mountains. No shortage of limestone, calcium, moving into Tokyo Bay. Tons and tons of, the place is littered with shellfish. Now, I tell you, there is no problem with calcium carbonate, none whatsoever. Something else is killing the flesh, the muscle nervous tissue, okay?
Look what it did to starfish. It dissolved them.
The cell walls of it. Yeah, it's something completely different. They're not dying. You're not seeing these shellfish with a lot of holes in them. And I'll ask the fishermen out there, okay? The oyster farm, people who run oyster farms and who, put clams, dig clams out of the sand. Do you see a lot of holes, thinner clam shells now? I'll tell you no. But you will see they're dying from the inside. You will see, I guarantee it, these bivalves, like I saw in Tokyo Bay, 2 have still very tight together, okay? Dead on the inside, hollowed out, okay? The mollusks are being hollowed out, and therefore, it is not a calcium-related disease that's affecting them. What is affecting them is something far more toxic that's destroying the cell walls of their muscle tissues, just like cesium destroys their heart muscle and causes heart stoppage, okay, to the elderly people in Japan. Why we've had record death rates every year since Fukushima in both Japan and in the United States. The death rate is rising because people are falling from coronary disease, which was more under control. You got to admit, there's a lot less people smoking, a lot more people doing exercise, healthy diet. Why suddenly a heart attack's going up is because of radiation, okay, because the ingestion of cesium. So let's not get around, folks, what is really killing the shellfish out there. NRDC should be ashamed of itself. I'm urging those 1.5 million members to stop paying their dues, to withdraw, send letters of protest to these hikers, these pro-nuclear hikers, and every one of those states that they mentioned, there's a nuclear plant somewhere in that vicinity that they're protecting.
Oh, damn right.
Yeah, they're protecting the nuclear industry, and we do know that Maine, they used to sink a lot of nuclear subs and all that. The seaweed off the Maine coast got massively high levels of kelp and seaweed off of Maine. massively high levels of nuclear isotopes because the Navy's been dumping nuclear waste out there.
For years. Now listen to this, Yoshi. Newly identified communities at risk are from Maine to the Chesapeake Bay to Louisiana's Bayou country. Nuclear power plant country. You're exactly right.
Exactly. Plus nuclear dumping on top of that. Barrels of nuclear waste being dumped by the industry, and by military forces being dumped off those shores, thinking it's okay to do sea dumping. They are in the pocket of not only the nuclear energy industry, but also the nuclear weapons industry, folks. The National Resources Defense Council, well, I hate to use that three-letter acronym, but let's get very clear where they're coming from, how to get their financing. It's not from 1.5 million people, okay? It's from a certain government agency. And let's get clear about who Lester Brown was and all these attorneys were. They're all in the hire of the federal government, okay? And some of the darkest, spookiest sections of that government. Let's be very clear. They're not an environmental group. They are professional fraudsters and essentially environmental criminals because they're involved in the biggest cover-up of this century.
And this report is, without question, one of the first big official steps.
And I don't see NRDC. Do you see NRDC throwing money at real environmentalists like Dana Stanford or our Surfer for Dave down there?
Right.
Not one penny. Okay?
Right.
Not
right.
one penny.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah, Dana, let's go back to you here. Todd, kill the commercial, will you, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Dana.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I think people should really look at it this way. On April the 4th, what's the name of it? I'm sorry. Norwegian Institute for Air Research put out a forecast that showed California under levels as high as Japan for radiation from April the 4th to April to 7th. Now, I'm going to put it in perspective for you in a minute. On April 2nd, 2011, a nuclear policy expert said it was striking that radioactive iodine-131 in California rainwater is very far, huge above the level permitted in drinking water, but that's a man-made element. Just stay with me. And radioactive iodine on March the 31st in rainwater samples near San Francisco were 18,000% above drinking water standards. Mm-hmm. There is no drinking water standards for iodine-131. Just stay with me for a minute. Mm-hmm. Radioactive strontium found in Hawaii milk. And the list keeps going on and on and on and on about radiation found right across North America, Canada, and the United States. Now, people have to understand that this stuff didn't just evaporate the next day. It's not going to evaporate this year or the year after that came with it. It wasn't just iodine-131. It was 132, 133, and 129 with a 50 million year half-life. That actually means that stuff is never going away. And so as that goes, washes, a lot of that will wash down to the coastline and wash into your lakes and rivers and estuaries and everything else. But it's not going to go away. If it's in your soil, it's still not going to go away. And so that will continue to eradicate everything that tries to take hold in all the eggs and larvae, in insects and animals included. That will break down that whole cycle. And so, the evidence is already here. It's already been researched. It's already been proven. It's already been documented that all of this stuff showed up here. And, you would need 2,000 Geiger counters to go and look for everything that's actually out there from this stuff. But the point of it is, it's still going into the ocean, still going into the atmosphere. And if it was just a single plume, folks, that went into the atmosphere, into the upper and lower troposphere, it would take 10 years for it to rain out. But these plumes never stop coming out. And even though the plumes are a lot smaller than the original plumes from the massive releases, they're extremely significant because there's so many atoms in a single gram. Now, because this has already been proven, people shouldn't argue or fight or have a debate, really, about if it's here or not, because it's already been proven, and it's not going to go away. And that's the point of why it's dangerous. That's why we have nuclear waste sites, and that's why we have terrorist laws and everything else, was because this stuff already has longevity. It's already recognized. And, it's so disheartening that the only nuclear scientists that come out and speak are the ones that are are true lobbyists for the industry itself, and that are 100% maniacal and monsters, like Jeff was saying earlier.
Well, you're exactly right. I had on the program a couple of weeks ago, a week from last Friday, David Eisenstein from down in the San Diego area. Even though, as you know, Yoshi and Dana and most of you listening, San Onofre is closed. They're decommissioning it. They're never going to be out of work to do down there. They're going to have to maintain all of that spent fuel forever, unless they can find a place to take it and safely put it in a repository. They could have put it in Yucca Mountain. I think that would have worked. It would have been better than anything we have now. Who's studying the problems? Who's trying to come up with a viable solution? You don't hear any talk anywhere about it anymore. Those people down there in San Diego, 20 million people are at risk or something like that. They want that stuff out of there. But every time you shut down a nuclear power plant and put it into a decommissioned state, you then begin the long haul. You have to take care of all the waste that's on site. It doesn't go away, as Dana is saying. As Yoshi said, we've gone into the earth and dug up uranium. And because the uranium was covered up, life was able to spawn and proliferate on this planet. And what do? We brought it out, we cracked the atom, and we're continually polluting and destroying our planet, day in and day out. Ask the people in San Diego, around San Onofre, who are fighting down there to get that radioactivity, that waste, all those fuel assemblies, get them the hell out of there. They know what's going on. They figured it out. Yoshi?
Yeah, all Southern California Edison, which operates San Onofre, have to do is sell out all of its thermonuclear plants. I mean, not thermonuclear, it's thermal plants. It's oil and gas burning plants. Sell them off to another company, raise the capital, and then create their own repository. I mean, why should the shareholders and directors of that company, executives, expect to earn great money for the duration and then think that when things are so untenable, they leave it to the taxpayers of the federal government,
every
the
time,
state government, to clean up the mess after they've made billions and billions? It's not a poor, Edison is not the poorest name in America, but it's going to be the poorest people in California who are going to end up footing the bill for these steak-eating, cigar-smoking, champagne-drinking executives and the shareholders. If capitalism is supposed to work, well, you're supposed to clean up your own mess in capitalism, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you made the money, you pay for the mess you made, okay? Those are the basic rules. You don't leave it to other people. You don't rely on a welfare state, for a corporation. You do it yourself. DIY, that is the name of the game of capitalism, and it is a very aggressive company, raising the rates on people all over Southern California in the midst of a drought. They have summarily raised the electric rates on people in California. I think the taxpayers and all the all the people who have to pay their bills have got to start banding together and put these people to task, put this corporation to task, and said, what did you do with the money that you made off of our backs? It's time for you to reinvest that money to clean up this neighborhood.
Not one single nuclear power plant has ever been profitable for the ratepayers. They've all gotten screwed every single time, and always will, because now they're stuck with the long-term, forever proposition of trying to take care of the nuclear waste. Dana, go ahead. You're up there.
In California, just one thing. Question in California that has to be raised is Governor Jerry Brown, Mr. Environment, Mr. Green, Governor Green.
Yeah.
Where have you been? Where are you? Okay.
Yeah. He's somewhere out in the cosmos.
Dana, let's hear Dana. Further north. Let's go from south to north.
Hey, I'm really hardcore at it the last 4 days. In particular, like I was saying earlier, I wanted to remind everybody was the Expedition for Life is what we're doing is we're looking at the west coast of British Columbia, Canada. We've been on the ocean since August. I've been out here by myself since the end of November, and the trip it wasn't supposed to go this way, but it ended up going this way because I feel the urgency of I have to find life, but we can't find life. And the last 4 days in particular has been mind-numbingly boring in the sense of I know the rest of the trip is going to be the exact same thing every day. It's like Groundhog's Day every day, where you go out and you don't have the heart in it looking for life anymore. You just have the heart to document it and the will to finish the job, because it's just impossible to imagine that just several years ago you would break your neck trying to go ashore at the low tide line anywhere in British Columbia. And this is what I specialize in, is low tide zone. And now you can go ashore anywhere in British Columbia and there's nothing to worry about. There used to be 600 algae, 600 kelps, folks, and you would slip and slide. Very dangerous, extremely dangerous, very slippery, unimaginably. Nobody can make it up to the high tide line at low tide without really hurting their elbow or their knee or twisting an ankle or really being an acrobat. Now
Right.
anybody can walk ashore anywhere. It's inconceivable. It's just, this is devastating to the entire ecosystem, because that is the nursery of the ocean. It's all missing. The very nursery of the ocean itself. And the biggest carbon sequester of the ocean was the phytoplankton. And that's missing. That was also the biggest oxygen producer, obviously, and it was the basis of the food chain, but it was also known as the biggest carbon sequester on the planet. And so they're blaming everything on carbon, but there's nothing there to sequester it like the normally has been doing throughout whoever knows how long this process has been going on. So that is all missing, and all I'm trying to, when I say things like they can't hide it much longer, I truly mean they can't hide it much longer. I can't see how they can. They can lie about it all they want for a short period of time, but it's going to be impossible to ignore a dead ocean. Like, I can't ignore what I'm seeing out there every day. It's enough to make you cry. I kid you not. It's
Dana,
so
are people going to
devastating.
get to a point where they go down to the shore and time is on the controller's side? If people go down to the shore and get used to seeing nothing, will they start to think that nothing is normal? See, that's the game. That's how they play it.
That's what they're hoping for. I think there's
so.
too many people with a memory. I think there is. And I have talked to some people, and they had very visual reactions. Like I do know some people have told me, and when I say there's nothing on the shoreline, you can go ashore anywhere in a boat, they understand that part, where it was dangerous to go ashore at low tide. That really works for the people that are used to the coastline, or fishermen, or people like that. They would understand that, because that would resonate for them. But a lot of people just don't automatically think of that, like you just said, see? A lot of people don't, unless you prod them a little bit, and that's a problem, because it's like you're feeding the people, and it doesn't feel right. You want them to remember it themselves, but you have to ask them, and then they have a reaction to it. And even the same thing with the mussels. They came out with this acidification of the ocean. Obviously, that's the cover story that they're using, and they're going to stick with, and they're going to have been using it for a long time, and now they're really going to come out and use that over and over. Having the bigwig come out, the nuclear scientists come out and say it, is for all the media now to come out and puke it back up, and then feed it to the willingly incapable people that follow them, and the people that put their faith into them. I think that cycle is broken coming up this year. I really do believe that, because someone out there is going to break this. All you need is a big actor or a big celebrity or a big sports blah 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 musician.
Yeah,
or
well,
somebody come out and say it, and you can say the
well, you're right, but whoever is going to do that will probably end their careers. So we may have a long time to wait, and that's the sad truth of that. Listen, Dana, we're running out of time. How you feeling physically? Okay? Good enough?
Physically, I'm really good.
Again?
Physically, I'm really good. I'm geared up to go. I'm going to finish this trip in record time and get back and really do the number on them. I'm going to do my part anyway. All I'm saying is I'm going to do the best job I can. I'm going to get back down south and package it up and get it out to people.
All right.
And see if that starts that debate.
Well, you're doing a
Okay,
wonderful,
folks.
heroic job. We really thank you. Yoshi, say goodnight. Say goodnight to
Great
Dana.
to hear you, Dana.
Yeah.
Feeling better now. Getting over those wintertime blues. Good to see.
I always
Good
like
to hear
listening
that.
to you anyway,
Glad
so.
you're back in strength.
It's good, because
Excellent.
that's the only information I get is when I listen to you, so I appreciate it. You're really
All right.
good, man. You're on the ball. Thank you.
Take
Good
care,
night,
Dana.
Jeff. Good night, Yoshi.
Okay.
Yeah. Good night, guys. Bye-bye.
He's up there all alone, folks, since November, out in
Yeah, really
rough
brave.
seas,
Hey,
beyond
just one
brave.
point, Jeff.
Yeah.
just one point, Jeff. Just to make sure that we don't confuse some of your listeners, too much acidity in the body is bad because when you reach adulthood, you don't want to keep growing because if your cells keep multiplying, that's
Correct.
called cancer. Okay?
Yeah, you got it.
Therefore, what you're suggesting of more alkaline body is to discourage that wild, uncontrolled growth. Okay?
We always tell people
so
go
people don't
alkaline.
confuse those concepts. Okay?
Very good. Yeah. Always strive for alkalinity. Just keep it under control, folks. It's so easy, truthfully, to cure major illness. You just don't need what the doctors are going to give you. You need to start taking care of your body properly. It's really that simple. You are what you eat, and most importantly, you are what you think. And that's what we're here to try to help you think more clearly about everything. All right, what's up next on your agenda? We have about a minute left, Yoshi. What are you going to be doing?
Well, I'll be talking to you shortly about my plans. We're going to go official with this, stopping the Tokyo Olympics, moving them to Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Coming up this spring. Like baseball season, it's coming up, all right?
Okay.
So,
we'll be here.
And we play baseball in Japan, and he's throwing all just like they do in the Major League Baseball. So, it's time to strike them and get a few home runs. That's the spring schedule.
Good job. All right, well, we'll be here. Slug it out with you. Okay. Take care.
All right.
Yoichi Shimatsu and Dana Durnford up in BC, and thanks to all of you for being here. And keep in mind that knowledge is king, and we try to give you as much as we possibly can. All right, we'll be back in 21 hours.